hier im Berliner Gripstheater, wo am vergangenen Samstag... We are here at the Gripstheater in Berlin, where an international hearing on the euro crisis took place on the Global Day of Action, the 15th of October. Our guest is Aris Chatzistefanou, film director from Athens, Greece. His film Debtocracy has been watched by more than 1.5 million people yet. Welcome to Kontext TV, Aris Chatzistefanou.
Thank you for having me.
What is the title of your last film and what is it about?
Our documentary is called Debtocracy. It's playing with the words debt and democracy at the same time, because we believe that the debt crisis in Greece, and not only in Greece but in the European periphery as a whole, it's not only about economics, it's also about democracy, and it's a political struggle at the core of it. So we wanted to explain to ourselves and to the Greek audience that what the Greek government is saying, that what the European Central Bank or even the government in Germany is saying, that we are not working enough, that it's all our fault, that we have spent more money that we could possibly earn in our lifetime. It's simply not true. What we are explaining is that there is, first of all, a structural crisis of the financial system as a whole. And after that started not in 2007-2008, but it started in the late 60s or early 70s. After that, they managed to find a solution for some decades with neoliberalism. By attacking the working people for several years, they managed to keep alive this financial system. But after 2007-2008, we saw that this system was not anymore viable because it wasn't able to keep the growth levels that it wanted to have in order to survive. After the structural problems of the world financial system, we wanted to talk about the structural problems of the eurozone, because we are explaining in the documentary that this system has at its core a problem. It creates deficits and debt to the European periphery, while at the same time creates surpluses to the European core, to countries like Germany or France. So even if everything was working perfectly in Greece, which is not the case, of course. We know that there are tremendous problems in the Greek economy. But even if everything was working perfectly, this system creates deficits and creates debts. And that's why many people, although it used to be a taboo subject for the last decade, have started talking even about the possibility of exiting the eurozone, which we know it's not easy, it will create many problems, but at the moment, it's at the table, it's on the discussion, if you might. So we wanted to explain that there are structural problems in the world financial system, in the Eurozone, and in the Greek economy, of course, and that created the debt, and it's not the people who are to blame for the situation.
What are the effects of the crisis and of the austerity measures on the Greek population, especially concerning employment, public services such as health and education?
What the Greek government is doing at the moment by obeying the orders that it takes from European Central Bank and the International Monetary Fund can be characterized as a social genocide. For the first time after Second World War, there is a generation of small children that they don't have enough food, which was unimaginable for some months ago, and some years ago, and some decades ago. So it's a total destruction of the social structure in Greece. The unemployment is running, it was 16%, we are sure that it will be 20% and more than that in the next few months. People have lost the working rights that they have gained in the 20th century. What the Greek government is imposing to the Greek working people, it's the working law of the 19th century. We are losing whatever was gained in this period. And at the same time, probably the best example to understand how difficult things are in the center of Athens is to give you an example from the Doctors of the World. It is an organization that used to work in sub-Saharan Africa, in countries like Uganda, in Ethiopia, and places like that. And now they are in the center of Athens. And the president of this organization, was telling me that they are facing a humanitarian crisis in the center of Athens. So it's the same situation that happens everywhere that the IMF is going, and that's the case for Greece too.
And it's interesting that the IMF was also in the center of structural adjustment in the third world since the 80s. So is this quite the same what is happening now in Greece?
Some people say that the IMF has changed, but we can tell you that that's not true. They are doing exactly the same things that they were doing in Latin America, in Africa, in poor countries, in Asia. They are destroying the social structure, they are destroying everything in order to minimize the wages and in order to privatize everything. And actually that will be the subject of our next documentary, because we have seen what happened in countries like Argentina, in Ecuador, when the IMF intervened trying to sell everything, all the public property, to privatize it. And that is happening right now in Greece, and it's funny that they have sent the same people like Bob Tra, who was responsible for IMF in Ecuador, and he was trying to privatize the electricity company. He's working right now in Athens, in a European country, and he's doing exactly the same thing as he was doing in what we call third world countries.
There's a proposal to create an institution modeled after the German Treuhand in order to privatize public goods and public services in Greece.
This was Mr. Junger's idea. He said that we have to privatize everything. So what Treuhand did by taking East German public property and selling it would be the best example for us. Of course, you just have to read some newspapers and to see what happened in Germany with Treuhand, with all the scandals, with millions of people that lost their jobs. So we know now that this is not an example to follow, Treuhand, even though the situation is not, of course, exactly the same, because Greece is not like East Germany. There is difference, the economy is completely different, but we have seen that Treuhand example failed, and we are not going to tolerate this to happen again.
What are the causes of the crisis in your view?
As I was saying, first it's the world financial crisis and the eurozone, which is the most important, but we can also talk about structural problems in the Greek economy. The main problem is the tax system. Greece is like a tax heaven for the rich people and a tax hell for all the other. Just imagine that the church, who is the biggest landowner in Greece, doesn't pay a single euro for taxes. The ship owners, who have, I think, the first or the second biggest merchant fleet in the world, last year they paid only 12 million euros for taxes, while at the same time the immigrants, the illegal immigrants who wanted to take their papers in order to stay in Greece, they paid 50 million. So the immigrants paid almost 5 times more than the ship owners in Greece. So the tax system is a major problem. Then it's defense spending. All the money that countries like United States, France, Russia, Germany, that they are asking from Greek governments to buy their weapons. Of course, the Greek governments and the ministers always want to do that because they are taking money in various ways. So we are at the point where we are, I think, the fifth country as a percentage of GDP to the money that we spend for army. It's like being in a war for decades, although we just have the weapons sitting there. And there is, of course, many other problems like corruption, but I wouldn't put corruption in the first in the list. We always point to the structural problems, because even if we take the money that we are gaining now from taxes and we throw away all our politicians who are corrupted, you will see that we will have again the same debt in a few years. And I'm saying that because we believe that it's the euro the eurozone at the center of this problem, creating the deficits and the debt.
How do you see the role of the Troika, the EU Commission and the European Central Bank, and also of the German government in the crisis?
Some people say that what is happening right now in Greece is an economic occupation. And I think they are right to say that. Just think that they are people from European Union or other governments who are not elected in any way, and they are inside the Greek ministries taking decision for the future of the Greek people. Even if we were the worst people in the world and you had to put us all in jail, you cannot just ignore the democratic structure of a country, invade it in a political and financial way, and try to impose your will. They knew, all these people from Troika, they knew that the Greek debt is impossible to be repaid. A small country like Greece cannot repay a debt of 350, 360 billion euros. It's just impossible. And they knew that from the first moment, but they wanted to protect their banks. They wanted to protect foreign lenders. They wanted to give them time so that they could get rid of the Greek bonds. They would send it back to the European Central Bank, in a way sending it back to the European taxpayers. That's what they are doing for the last years. They are not protecting the euro, they are not protecting Greece, they are just protecting the foreign banks and the governments who support these banks. So that's how the Greek people started thinking, although they were persuaded at the first year that, oh my God, we must have done something terribly wrong to be in this situation. Now they understand that it's not so simple. There are many other factors that played a crucial role in creating this crisis.
What could be done as an alternative to the current crisis policies?
First of all, we have to explain that there is no easy solution to this problem. The Greek population will pay in a very hard way what happened. What we are suggesting is that we should default, because, as I've said, it's impossible to repay this debt. And it's not only that it's impossible, a big part of this debt is illegal or odious. So the Greek population is not responsible for this debt. So the first step would be to default. There is a proposal that if you default, there's no use in staying in the eurozone. Eurozone has nothing more to give you. So exiting the eurozone will give you the ability to devaluate your currency, and so start your industry, start your economy from scratch. Of course, it's very difficult, we understand that, but if you believe, like we do, that the euro is responsible for the crisis, you might have to take a decision like that. Of course, if you default and decide to exit the eurozone, the banking sector will collapse. That's for sure, we know that. So the third step would be to nationalize the banks. And that might sound revolutionary or ultra-socialist or things like that, but even mainstream governments, mainstream politicians would agree with that, because it's the only solution in order to save the banking sector. So we have these three steps: default, exit the eurozone, and nationalize the banking system. In any case, everything depends on who will take the decision, who will take the initiative. Because if you let the European Union, if you let the ECB or IMF take the decision, that will be a disaster for Greece. It has to be the Greek people who will put pressure to the Greek government to take this decision for these three steps, and that could alter the balance between capital and labor. And that's the main cause. We are not ready, of course, for a revolution that we all might want to see in our lifetime. We are not there yet. But we have to change this balance between capital and labor. And with these three steps, if the population take the initiative, we think that we can do it.
If Greece exits the eurozone, wouldn't that be dangerous for the European integration and for peace in Europe?
It is, that's true, but what is this European integration? Is it a real political and social integration, or is it just a way to support financial institutions in their everyday behavior and in everyday exchanges. Because euro, it was actually an instrument for this, for the banking sector and the stock exchanges to work better. We don't have an international communion of European people that we want, and of course we want all the Europeans to come together in a single nation if this is possible, but not with this European Union. This European Union is just an instrument, it's just a tool for some financial institutions. It's not a tool for the people of Europe.
What about the Greek movements? Are the Greek movements able, in your view, to put forward alternatives? And how are they linked to other movements such as Occupy Wall Street, the North African movements and the Spanish movement?
The problem with in Greece right now is that there is no political movement or political party to take the initiative and make specific suggestions about the crisis and the exit from the crisis. So the people are there, they will demonstrate. We believe that there will be a riot, because if you don't have enough food for your children, there will be a riot. The question is, what will happen afterwards? In Argentina, we had the same situation. It was people on the street, but not political movement, specific political movement, to give political guidance. So what happened? At first they won. Kirchner government was obliged to say no to IMF, to say we will default and you're not going to take all the money that you're asking. But then after some years they came back to the same situation, because there was no this political movement to say something different to the people, to give a dream which you have to follow. The good thing in Greece is that it's always the people who first go to the streets, and then the political movement is created and the political parties follow. That happened in the Civil War, that happened during the dictatorship years. So we don't expect from the parties to take the initiative. We expect from the people to be there, and then we might find also, the theoretic background to support this movement.
And the link to Occupy Wall Street, do you think that the movement that is happening right now could have an impact on Greece?
All these movements, starting from Tunisia, Egypt, Spain, and then Greece, and now New York and other cities in the United States, we have to understand that start asking the same thing. They cannot accept anymore the neoliberal paradigm that we had to follow for the last 2 or 3 decades. Economy, it's in the center of what they are asking. They are asking not only for democracy, but they are asking for economic democracy, in a way, if you can characterize it like that. So yes, we have many things in common. Of course, every country has different levels of politicization, different history in the movements. We are not following necessarily the same path, but we have started from the same point and we want the same thing. So yes, we are all together in that.
You already mentioned your next film. Talk about your next project.
In the last days of October, we will announce the new title. It will be again about economy, and it will be again a crowdsourcing operation. We will ask from the people to support us, and that's how we made Debtocracy, the first documentary. It was just common people like you and me who wanted to give some money through PayPal, through a bank account, and that's how we managed to find the money that we needed for the documentary. We think that people, because they were happy, I think that they were happy with what they saw. We have now 2 million viewers for the first documentary. So we will ask again from them to support us, so that we don't have to go to companies, we don't have to go to political parties. We just depend on the people to support us. So a new documentary about economy, starting from Greece, but it will not be only about Greece. It will be for the financial institutions in general, and we will focus also in privatization. So Germany with Troika will have something to remember, I think, from this new documentary.
Thank you very much, Aris Chatzistefanou, for being with us.
Thank you very much.